Hey guys, just finished having a great discussion with Joel and Samraat from the Christian Democrats. We ended up getting onto a topic we didn't expect to. It's about drug policy and drug reform. Where should we be on it? As a libertarian, we've got some views, and Christians have different views. What followed was the two of them having a debate with each other, which I found riveting. Totally unplanned, totally unscripted, but certainly worth watching. Check it out.
I don't know, man. I think
are you against alcohol?
No, I'm not against alcohol.
Why aren't you against alcohol?
I love alcohol. Jesus said, what did he say? Well, his first miracle was to change water into wine. The Bible tells us to drink a little wine for your health. It's even a part of the Eucharist.
So what's the difference between drinking alcohol? These arguments they presented to me, drinking alcohol and smoking marijuana.
A better question is... A better question is, what is the line with alcohol? Because there is a line in Christianity. That's exactly... No, not don't get drunk. It's don't get drunk, but don't lose control. The moment you go beyond that point, that's when there's the problem. Now, hang on a second. Yeah. We don't outlaw getting drunk, obviously, because it's... And this is I'm more libertarian on this issue. You know, we probably all agree on this one. I'm actually more libertarian on this one. What should the government be regulating? Now, my view on drugs, and it's not set in stone, like I'm willing to be moved on it, is as long as the drug is not affecting greater society. What does that mean? As long as the greater society doesn't have to subsidize your drugs or have to pay for the repercussions of your drug use, like, for example, ice, that should definitely be ruled out because there is a clear... for
example, marijuana.
No, with marijuana, I'm actually more sympathetic to marijuana users. I don't.
What do you mean by that? Like what?
Well, this is my problem because I look at the issue of drugs from the lens of America. I don't know where we're at with Australia. What I think we should do in Australia is we should legalize the research of it so we can go in knowing what's going on.
Research done on marijuana. Like what's at this current time? What do you think about marijuana usage?
There are very few things I'm 100% sure about. I think recreational is fine. I think that it shouldn't be classed as a class 3 drug in America. And you definitely shouldn't be sent to jail because of that. But with regards to arguments I've heard from other conservatives, because I haven't really thought this out completely. So those are the things I'm sure about, which is very little. But with regards from what I've heard from conservatives, I think I've heard Ricardo say that the problem with marijuana is it's a gateway drug to other drugs. It's the slow creeping back of what's acceptable. And so I'm trying to find a clear line where this is a very, it's a very strange subject. There's no clear lines. Like at least with abortion, we can be like, yep, conception, pretty much all biologists say that's when life begins. And this is the problem with drugs. It's like, where do you draw the line? Because, we saw what happened with alcohol.
Why don't you draw the line when a drug is harmful, like it has a harmful physical effect on the body?
No, because it's not about the body, it's about society, because we're talking about making laws. You know, we're not talking about people's health, because we live in a free society where we don't want to take away people's sovereignty, we don't want to take away their ability to make harmful decisions.
Harm to society, what do you mean by that?
Well, I'm saying when society has to go out of their way to pay for the person's medical bills.
So in case of alcohol usage, most car crashes are caused by drunk people. And then, the government has to dish out for their medicals. Some medical costs are dished out by the government and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So would you then, on the same premise, say, okay, let's ban alcohol usage at a certain point so you can't be drunk, it's legal to be under the influence? How do you reconcile that argument of...
No, that's a good point, but we already have laws in the book for that. The problem with ICE, for example, which is a very clear one because we can actually point to studies, is people get violent. They go on killing sprees with knives and crap. Yeah. That's the problem. People don't do that with alcohol. With alcohol, everyone has a different personality when it comes out. It's not that it's a different personality, it enhances a certain part of them. For example, I don't know, with me, I get really sleepy. You know, everyone's got like a different personality. With some people, they love to dance or something. You know, like there's certain things that it enhances in them. If you're a bad person and you have alcohol and you're feeling homicidal, you will go kill people. Whereas with ice can make me kill people, and I don't think I'm capable of that when I'm sober and I'm in control. That's why it's a problem. Whereas with alcohol, it's just it's a what's it called, class drug. It's not a depressant. It's is it a depressant?
Yeah,
it's depressant. Yeah, and look, that's the difference. Whereas it's not a. Is ice like a hallucinogen or something?
Would you be for then like drawing a line here and be like, okay, if a drug has harmful effects for body and society, put on that side of the line, and because Ricardo's argument was that that's a gateway drug. So what if you put the line here? And it's not like, okay, we put the line at marijuana, put the line at ice something. Instead of putting the line on a specific substance, you put the line on a premise or an argument or like an idea that if a drug has a certain effect, then you move it on that side of the line. So that way the line doesn't shift and you're like, opening the floodgates to, ice usage and what's those other... Heroin and all those other drugs and cocaine and stuff. So would you be for that then? Like just having like a static line and not moving that, but moving drugs around it, depending on their effects?
Well, this is the thing. I don't know. I guess so. Like in theory, but the problem is the theory's been tested, wasn't it? It was tried with alcohol. It didn't work. And once again, it's being tried now by moving the line past marijuana. And so... I don't know, I guess in a way you can't really see past the event horizon once we legalise marijuana. But at the same time, I think it's a topic which needs to be debated with more facts on the table, and I'm just not confident. This is why I don't really give a crap about marijuana as a debating topic in Australia. Because, well, first of all, no one's legalised it. It's not as big of an issue in Australia than it is in America.
But it is. See, the issue with marijuana isn't that... It's not as big of an issue as in publicity around it and stuff, but it's a huge issue in terms of the fact that the majority of Australians do weed. Like, that's the issue, is the fact that we're kind of saying, okay, we'll kind of ignore the marijuana issue. Well, like 10 to 20% of the population does it like on a regular basis. And that might be like an inflated number, but there's a significant amount of Australians that do it on a regular basis. And that's an issue. Like, is that not significant enough for it to be addressed?
That's not No, it's significant to have a debate on it, but what I'm saying is I'm not, as an individual that doesn't really give a crap about the subject, I'm not willing to make any definitive calls and say this is how I feel on it. It's just like a meh. It's like I don't really care about this subject. It's not a topic where, there are bigger fish to fry right now. That's why I don't look into it as much. Like, I mean, I barely feel like I've looked into the climate change debate enough, and I really want to. So if I don't have time for that, I don't have time for something which completely doesn't involve me. I don't know what the numbers are with marijuana incarceration rates in Australia. It's nothing like America. So that's why I consider it be a bigger issue for them than here. Another thing is, I would make more definitive calls if the government made it legal, and I don't know if they have, but if the government made it legal in Australia to run scientific studies on marijuana, then we could point to data and say, yes, there's a line.
Do you think that we should get more involved in the marijuana discussion and debate? Because what I see happening is Christians and conservatives some of them do go into the debate in that arena and kind of battle with the idea, but most of them are like, as you said, meh. It's kind of a backburner issue that isn't too significant. And what I kind of see happening is that the left then come along and they take over the argument. And the whole marijuana legalization debate is dominated by them, and so when that happens, they kind of shape the argument how they want and push other agendas through it and stuff. And the way they might argue for legalization of marijuana might open doors for ice and cocaine and stuff. But if conservatives got involved and were more involved in the debate itself,
got ahead of it,
then the argument might stop with marijuana. The push to legalize it. And the whole debate around it might be, okay, we'll legalize this and no more. Or other lefties and other parties and stuff might be like, we'll legalize this and more for these reasons. Like, do you think that's a reason why people should be more interested in getting involved in debating it?
Look, I think that ultimately the buck stops with the members of parliament, and it stops with them and the constituency. Because the members of parliament, they're going to bring a certain amount of issues that they want to get done for their constituency. Let's say it's the top 5. If the marijuana makes that number in the top 5 or whatever, then absolutely it should be on the agenda. But I don't know, maybe I'm in a bubble, but that's not what I've been hearing. It's been other issues, economic issues, the rise of China, how they're going to keep their electricity prices low. It's just not on their priority list right now, and that's why I don't see it as a priority. Because if you think about it, marijuana it's not a necessity. It's like a complementary thing for life that makes people feel good. Like, it's not as important as keeping the lights on for people. I'm not saying it shouldn't be debated. I'm just saying I don't think that there's a huge market for it. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I just don't think it's I just don't think it's a big issue. It's not.
Because one thing I've seen, in terms of people I know and who they know and stuff, is that you brought up the issue of it's not kind of like a priority of people's agendas, right? Like, they're going to think about how they're going to pay their bills and all that stuff. But I found it across the board, and it's not like specifically poor people, specifically people on Centrelink payments and stuff, but is the numbers consistent, in my experience, of the amount of people on Centrelink who use marijuana versus the amount of people's businesses that use marijuana. And so it's a strange situation where, yes, those people struggle to pay their bills and stuff, but they're also buying pot on the side.
Yeah.
So it's like, doesn't that elevate it a bit more? Because I think the reason politicians don't address the marijuana issue is because it's too it's a scary thing to touch, just like abortion or free speech and religious freedom stuff.
It's got a stigma.
Yeah, and so I think that's why they wouldn't necessarily go near it, because they can lose votes on it, or they could gain votes, and it's a tricky thing.
Yeah, look, we live in a democratic society. Everyone is gifted with the ability to vote. That is what empowers Canberra. That is what empowers an MP. And if the people aren't talking about it, if they are and the MPs aren't saying anything on it, then that's their fault and they should be voted out by their constituency. But the buck stops with the constituency, with the members, with the voters. And I just don't think I've seen that. And if I'm missing it, I'm sure it's a big issue for people like in Byron Bay, for example, that constituency. And, so be it. More power to you. Good luck to you in that fight. But that's not what I'm hearing. In the last election, the major things that were, even Labor and the Liberals can agree on these points. The things that won and lost the election for both parties were religious freedom, were, sorry, I just had a mind blank. The issues were religious freedom, how they're going to keep the electricity prices on. Even countries around the world pointed to Australia and said, see, they rejected the environmentalists and what they're saying. But they weren't they were focused on an economy that was about to be blown up by, 50% renewable targets and that sort of thing. And, all the scare warnings about the death tax, whether that's true or not, it's irrelevant. But
What's the death tax?
Well, I don't know if this is true or not. I haven't done my facts on it, but it was alleged that Labor were trying to introduce a 50% death tax, which meant, of course, that when you die, 50% of your assets and everything you have goes to the government as a tax. That's something that's in America, in some states. But basically, what the Liberal was saying was this was a part of the Labor manifesto. I don't think it was true, but fact check me on that. But that was like, where was the marijuana debate? Like, I'm not an expert, but all the so-called experts, there were the so-called experts, and then there were the actual experts that called the election. None of them said marijuana was a winning or a losing thing in the election. And so when you tell me that, politicians should be focusing on this a lot more, yeah, maybe you're right in the next 5 years or so, but it definitely wasn't on the last election. It was prime. It always comes down to the economy. In every election I've watched, and I'm a young bloke, I'm only 22, but every election I've watched, especially in 2016 in America, but also in the election that we just saw, 2019, as they get close to election day, the politicians, the leaders, they focus on the economy, because that is ultimately what will affect the people. That is where they feel it, with their taxes, how much they're paying, a strong economy bringing money into their businesses. Like, that's what hits home. It's not marijuana. Now, I'm saying meh to this issue because I don't care. I really don't. I do care if people are being incarcerated for marijuana for I think in America I've heard like 15 years sometimes just for, owning some, not even distributing it. I'm not sure about the facts on that. And, that's sort of inflated their prison numbers. Now, I think that's a clear thing where I can point to and be like, ice is not on the same level as marijuana. It's just not. And you don't need to do studies to see that. You should, so you can make the argument, but it's just not. And so that's why I'm like a meh, because it's not a big issue in Australia. It might be widely used. I mean, we haven't done any. I haven't seen any
postal votes on it.
I haven't seen any $200 million postal votes sent out.
Imagine
on that.
I feel like sending a postal vote. Do you use that?
I feel like half the people would take it as a trolling exercise and say yes, and then you'd come back with
50% of the population.
Even the dead people sending this back. But look, I don't think it's a big issue. But then again, I'm not. I don't know if my mind closed on this. It's funny, I listened to Joe Rogan and Stephen Crowder debate this issue, and they had their back and forth, and just Crowder was just like, meh, it doesn't really affect me that much. I think he should have, as I said, I think he should have taken a bit more of a harder stand and said, look, probably shouldn't be classed as a class 3 drug in America with the amount of people incarcerated. So I think it's a big issue here. And if it is for you, then go vote. Go tell your MP, email them, Exactly, yeah. But I'm certainly not set in my ways, that's for sure. It's a bit hard to debate that when someone says, meh, I don't care.
Marijuana, that's not a big issue.
Because it's like, well, then why are we talking about it? Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not a stakeholder.
It isn't that one, like one was thinking, it's the fact that many Christians are like, oh, marijuana, bad. And they don't engage it. You're a bit more like undecided at the moment, but most Christians are kind of like, oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
But the arguments they use for why it's bad are the same arguments for like why alcohol is bad.
Yeah.
And they don't stop and like think about, hey, is there inconsistency in my argument? Maybe there's another reason marijuana is bad. Yeah. It isn't like the reasons they're saying, like, oh yeah, it makes you lazy, or you might act up or act a bit different and stuff. And it's like, alcohol is the same thing. You get lazy with alcohol, or you get hyped with alcohol. It's an odd drug. Yes. But the arguments are the same against alcohol too. And alcohol is much more dangerous in terms of how many people get drunk of alcohol than, say, ice or something. Yeah. Like ice is more like immediate danger, as in you take a small dose and you go flipping crazy. But in terms of like total statistical amount of deaths and acts of violence committed on drugs, the vast majority are alcohol related.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, that's because it's widely distributed.
Yeah, I know. And
like, I want some good statistics. I want to know, but like, you can't really take that.
Is that when Christians look at, okay, why is alcohol accepted versus marijuana, right? Yeah. No one considers the fact that the reason why we use alcohol and think it's okay and it's perfectly normal is because it's culturally accepted, right? Because people have done it for hundreds and thousands of years.
Yeah.
Versus marijuana. And so if the same thing with marijuana, do you think people be more open to it? Like if they just legalize marijuana, like everyone can smoke weed, not go to jail, not pay fines and stuff. Do you think that society would like be more accepting of that, like it is of alcohol usage?
Maybe. You'd hope so. I'd like to think it'd become more casual. It'd be interesting to see how they resolve all the smoking laws. Like, I mean, people would want to smoke it everywhere, even like it's not like a cigarette. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't know. Like, I like the arguments which say that it would take it out. You know, it would decrease the power of the black market, because I don't think that benefits anyone, because the marijuana users get a premium price. It might not be the best marijuana, so there's, and at the same time, it empowers perhaps more nefarious hands. And also there's the tax revenue, which you miss out on, the 10%.
That's like the most libertarian argument there is, legalize it so we can tax it and get some money off it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's got to have a GST. It's got to have a GST. Yeah, and that's the thing.
Like that's like I always hear the argument of like, we can tax it. Like, is that a lot of money? Like that's not a good enough argument that you can tax it. Yeah, well, I mean, we're rattling off a few good things. It would take the money out of perhaps the same dealers that are dealing ice, and I think that's more opportune. No, I've met marijuana dealers that.
Look, I think with marijuana,
they only do marijuana.
I think with marijuana dealers, obviously, there's a lot more of them.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they
just grow in the backyard.
I don't have the facts in front of me, but I'd like to think that there would be more marijuana dealers than any other drug in Australia, because it's a low risk drug compared to the other ones.
Like in Western countries, like marijuana, like scary drug. In America, some states legalize and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's strange, like what is it called? Like a dichotomy, not dichotomy.
Yeah, dichotomy.
Like a dichotomy.
Problem. Yeah, dichotomy.
There's a strange difference between Western countries and their view of marijuana versus like Asian countries like India. Like in America, it's like, if you see someone growing pot, it's like, shut them down, throw them in prison for 20 years.
Yeah.
But then you walk through streets of like Punjab and India, and it's like weed growing on the street, on the sidewalks. And to them, it's like non-issue. It's like, most people don't realize you can like pluck it and smoke it. But it's such a widespread thing there. And to them, it's like,
it's a weed.
And so we look at that, would you say, okay, how has a country like India dealt with marijuana? And is there a crisis in India? Are people dying of marijuana usage there? Are they overdosing? Are people going crazy? Is the economy crashing? Are people becoming lazy? Has it opened the gates for other drugs like cocaine and ice?
Yeah.
And the answer is largely no. So on that example, would you say that,
well, maybe, but I mean, like, we don't want to leap before looking. I mean, I've got the same approach to nuclear energy. There's a lot of people arguing for it, a lot of people against it. At least let's investigate it, which we can't do. There's a 15-year moratorium, so we can't even discuss it. Same thing with marijuana. As far as I know, we can't even research it in Australia. We can't even see if it can benefit people with, I think, epilepsy. It helps people with epilepsy.
Yeah, a bunch of different
in other countries, they've said this. At least investigate it, and then we can make an informed discussion. And that's why when a lot of people press me and they're like, what do you think? What do you think of this thing? It's like, I don't know, and that's okay. And I'm asking for more information. I'm not going to make a definitive call when the story is still pending. And I think it's funny because people do this with shooters as well.
Shooters?
Yeah, like, in America, when someone shoots up a place and the person happens to be Muslim or have, like, a last name like mine, Jammal, even though it's a Christian last name, they're just like, it sounds Middle Eastern. It must have been Islamic terrorism, or it's like, I don't know, John Smith, and it's like, oh, white supremacist or whatever. You know, he follows. If you check his Twitter account, it says I love Trump or something. It's like white supremacist. It's like, I don't want to jump to that conclusion to a whole story and then have to flip on it as soon as the facts come up.
Yeah.
I don't care about the issue. I don't have the facts in front of me. It's not the Australian voters aren't asking for it. From what I've seen,
let's end with this then.
Yeah.
Would you do marijuana?
Would I do it?
If
I still see the point.
If you went home, right?
No, I wouldn't.
And it was just on the table.
No, I wouldn't do
No?
it. No, because I don't want to do, but it's different. Our whole discussion right now has been for public reasons. How would we like to see the public go forward in an intelligent discussion and, proceeding with caution? Personally, it's a completely different discussion. Would I be, if a guy held a gun to my head and said, do marijuana, it's not the hill I'm going to die on, I'm going to do the marijuana.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if it's just sitting there and someone offered me, I probably wouldn't do it because I like to be in control. It's something I'm unfamiliar with.
So would you drink like a cup of scotch that was just on the table when you got home?
Look, my approach to scotch is the same thing. I mean, I wouldn't have the full bottle. I like to be in control. I don't think it's very fun being drunk. I like to drink a lot. I don't drink very often, but I like a lot of scotch. But I don't feel the need to. How do I say this? I don't need the drug or the alcohol to have fun. I like myself very much and I can have fun without it. And maybe people are saying, oh, you can have more fun if you do this. It's like, yeah, you might be right, but I mean, I'm having a hell of a time.
You can meet aliens along.
You can meet aliens and see things. Yeah, but
Converse with angels.
But at least I'm not like, nothing annoys me more than watching a lot of these lawmakers in America talk about doing marijuana when they were younger and then laughing about, incarcerating some. I think it was Kamala Harris who was a prosecutor, and she had some when she was younger, and then she laughed one time when a reporter asked her about prosecuting someone who did marijuana. And I was like, what are you doing? What?
Like back when I was talking about the India issue and stuff, now I think about it, I think that's a great example of what would happen if we legalized marijuana. And for that, I mean, if you go to India, walk through the streets and stuff, you see all these like wacky, long-haired, hippie kind of dudes, like super dark skin and powder on their face and stuff, and they're just like having
whatever floats your boat,
crazy,
man.
like they're seeing spirits and shit. Like they're just full on like off their nuts.
Yeah.
And stepping. In India you have like those spike stuff that people like lie down on, and they do all sorts of weird tricks.
Yeah.
And those people are like high off their heads and pot.
Yeah.
So I can now when I think about it, I kind of think that's the reason why I'd be like, let's
take it easy.
Let's take it easy, not go full India and have like a million gods emerge from people's marijuana experiences.
I'm going to quote you on that. Let's not go full India. And
let's keep our monotheism.
It's funny. All right. As Samraat Joshua Grewal said, let's not go full India and tamper with the ball in this cricket game. I think that it's a different country. It's been around for a while.
It's part of their traditions. Like even in Papua New Guinea and Malaysia and stuff, like smoking marijuana and having these experiences is almost part of their religions.
Yeah.
And it's freaky.
Yeah.
It's like if someone made a religion out of like snorting coke. I don't know, it just freaks me out.
Huh.
Like Christians have wine, but we don't like skull that and be like, the Holy Spirit's hit me, and because you're like, you've OD'd on alcohol or something. It's like,
give me another, hit me again. Yeah, no.
Wouldn't that be interesting if Jesus turned the water into scotch instead?
It'd be a smooth scotch, I bet. Green label or something.
What brand do you think it'd go for?
Shivers, of course. Yeah.
Jack Daniels is pretty smooth.
You're not going to go for the three monkeys, that's for sure. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. No. I think wine suited. I think wine suited because the whole grapes thing.
But there's an argument that Jesus, in between like 30 period he was like he disappeared for, went over to India and like learned the religious stuff from him. Like, but apparently there's this whole argument that he went there and he did like stuff with the Buddhists and the Hindus, and that's where he learned like how to resist pain or something. And there's another argument that the way he did that was because he smoked weed and stuff, and that was like the painkiller kind of thing. And so when he was on the cross, he like...
I don't know, man. They also say he was a socialist. And the Mormons say he went to America, so who knows? Everyone wants dibs, but I'm just happy that they're not denying his existence. That's nice. Yeah. Yeah, but look, that's how I feel on marijuana, man.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yes. That's a great quote, though.
For the first kind of like 5 minutes, I didn't realize Chris was recording.
I didn't realize in his room. I thought he was asleep.
Oh, that's why everyone's so quiet. And it's like that.
Yeah.
I just kind of went with it.
Roll.